Has it ever happened to you that you, for example, knew exactly what you needed to do? So, for example, you knew that you should go to the gym, you knew that you should work on your goals. For example, you knew that you should have that difficult conversation with a specific person, or for example you knew that you should take action on a specific task but eventually you didn't, not because you didn't know what to do, but for example because you felt stressed, you felt anxious, you felt overwhelmed, you felt fear, and instead of taking action you left that emotion decide for you. So, guys, if that has ever happened to you, it's because emotional intelligence is not where it should be. Because emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotions without becoming controlled by them. It's that ability to feel fear and still move forward, to feel doubt and still take action, to feel uncertainty and still making decisions. And honestly, I genuinely believe that emotional intelligence is one of the most important abilities that you can develop, because your life is not determined by what you know, it's determined by what you do. And what you do is often determined by how well you manage your emotions, right? When mostly of the people hear about emotional intelligence, they often think that it's about being emotional, and it's not. It's about understanding your emotions deeply without being controlled by them. It's that ability to feel anger without acting impulsively, to feel fear without letting it stop you, to feel rejection without giving up, to feel uncertainty without panicking, right? And I don't think, for example, that most people fail because they lack information. I think that they fail because they, mostly of the times, I think that they fail because they can't manage their emotions. And I want you to think about it. Why, for example, do people quit the gym? Not because they don't know that exercise is good. Why do people smoke cigarettes? They know that are bad, right? Why do people procrastinate? Not because they don't know what needs to be done, but why they don't do that. Why do people stay in bad situations, drugs, alcohol? Not because they don't know better, right? Often it's because emotions are making the decisions. Emotions about fear, comfort, insecurity, doubt. And I want to share even my personal experience. One thing that I've learned through my own journey is that emotions can easily pull you away from what you know that you should do. For example, after my graduation, I honestly felt quite lost. I had debt, I had gained some weight, I moved back to my hometown that I didn't enjoy. I didn't have any clarity about my future. And genuinely, there were some moments when I felt overwhelmed by so many things that I should do. Many moments when I questioned my decisions, especially with my career, because when I decided to pursue the high ticket closing instead of following the path that everyone expected, um, I got many rejection by people that I loved. My parents weren't convinced. My friends didn't really understand it. People had, let's say, some opinions about that, right? And emotionally, it would have been easier to just follow the crowd. But as I said before, emotional intelligence is being able to listen to those emotions without letting them control your life. So even if I felt those, let's say, bad emotions, low frequency emotions, better, I still pursue something that I really wanted to learn. And one of the biggest signs, in fact, of emotional intelligence is understanding the difference between reacting and responding. Most people react. For example, something goes wrong and they panic, they quit, they become negative, they blame the society, the politics, and whatever. Emotionally intelligent people respond. They step back, they process what happened, and then they make a decision. And that's, guys, a really completely different way of living. Imagine that you get rejected. It can even happen. I mean, a person with low emotional intelligence thinks I'm not good enough and simply stops trying. For example, in night ticket closing, right? A person with high emotional intelligence thinks this hurts, but it's part of the process. So they change even the inner dialogue, and the person keeps moving. Imagine, for example, that your business isn't working. A person with low emotional intelligence panics. A person with high emotional intelligence adapts. Imagine, for example, that someone criticizes you. A person with low emotional intelligence becomes defensive. A person with high emotional intelligence asks, is there something useful that I can learn from this? So they even ask better questions, as even Tony Robbins said about that. People often ask, what's the most important skill for success? Sales, communication, marketing, leadership. Of course, all of those matter, but emotional intelligence sits underneath of all of them, in my opinion, because every skill becomes useful if your emotions constantly sabotage your actions. And this isn't only about success, it's also about happiness, because life will always give you uncertainty, some problems, setbacks, failures, disappointments. You simply cannot control all of those things, but you can learn to control your response, and that's where emotional intelligence becomes powerful. One of the simplest things that you can start doing is this one. The next time that you feel a strong emotion, simply pause. Don't immediately react, and ask yourself, What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling it? And what is the best response that I can do? The small pause can change really your entire life because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your decisions. And again, the quality of your decisions is often determined by how well you manage your emotions. That's why emotional intelligence isn't just another skill, it's just the foundation. Because when you learn to master your emotions, you simply stop being controlled by life and you start taking control of it, right? I hope that this makes sense for you. And in my opinion, the best way, even from my experience, from my experience, one of the best ways to develop emotional intelligence, sorry guys, is fitness. Not because lifting weights magically makes you emotionally intelligent, but because fitness forces you to manage your emotions every single day. In fact, the workout isn't always the hard part. The hard part is training when you don't feel motivated, when you don't want to train. The hard part is saying no to instant gratification. The hard part is sticking to your nutrition when you are stressed. The hard part is being patient when results aren't coming as fast as you would like. Fitness constantly puts you in situations where your emotions want one thing, but your long-term vision and your long-term goals require something else. And every single time that you choose what you need over what you feel like doing in that moment, you strengthen your emotional intelligence. You learn that feeling tired doesn't mean that you should quit. You learn that feeling fear doesn't mean that you should stop. You learn that feeling doubt doesn't mean that you are on the wrong path. You simply stop being controlled by your emotions and start learning how to manage them. In fact, for me, fitness became much more than building a better body. It became a daily practice for managing even my mind. Because the gym teaches you a lesson that applies to every single area of your life eventually. Because just when you feel something doesn't mean that you have to act on it. So this I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you liked. If you are serious about improving your life, so don't just work on your body, don't just work on your money, don't just work on your skills. Work even on your emotional intelligence, because it's one of the few abilities that can really improve every area of your life eventually. So I leave on the description the link where you can chat with me through Instagram, and if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can write me a message. Let's go, guys.